Okay, good afternoon. Jeez. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Your Sunday edition, our first episode of our new broadcast week. A bunch of stuff we got to talk about, a bunch of stuff I got to announce about this show and about me over the next week or so. We'll get into that, but of course, tonight, man, we're here to kind of continue the conversation, the discussion, the controversy that are your Philadelphia Phillies. Today, 4-0 losers. I'm sorry. I keep on saying 4-0. I've been like stuck on 4-0. I guess I don't recognize those last three runs as being valid, but they were valid and they counted. 7-0 losers today to the St. Louis Cardinals. And the beat goes on with the two most struggling members of this team, Alec Bohm and Brandon Marsh. And as we get to this final word in your Philadelphia sports day, the question, first one of the night is, how much more? How much more do we have to take? Or how much more does Dave Dombroski have to see in order to make a move? And what exactly was the plan in the offseason? Was this the plan? Was it really as simple as we were going to hope that Alec Bohm and Brandon Marsh were going to pull it together in 2025? Is that the plan? And if that's the plan, how much more do we take of Dave Dombroski? Because I don't know if anybody out there other than myself, and I'm sure there was about a bazillion others who saw the same thing I did, Alec Bohm and Brandon Marsh were not going to be enlightened in 2025. And we're going to get into some more, I don't want to call it Brandon Marsh, Alec Bohm bashing. We're going to be dropping some truth bombs. That's not bashing. That's saying like it is, right? Being real about it. So we're going to continue the conversation about the Phillies as they continue to slump. 9-6 now on the season, which it's funny to me because there's probably about, I would say, a handful, maybe 15 teams, 15 cities, 15 fan bases that would take 9-6 right now of a start of their team. But that doesn't work here in this town because of the way they've gotten to 9-6. And I guess another question would be, how valid is that 9-6 record? And with the fact that this team cannot score again, I prepped myself before the start of the season. I knew it was going to come. I knew I was going to start uttering those famous words of RISP. And we're already 15 games into this, and we're batting 206 with runners in scoring position. 206 with runners in scoring position. How does a team who bats 206 with runners in scoring position win 9 games? How's that humanly possible? Also giving up 18 home runs as a pitching staff. How does that happen? And if someone can enlighten me, I would be greatly appreciative of that because I can't wrap my head around that. How does a team that cannot, for the life of themselves, and for the now going on the 5th year preceding Rob Thompson, not be able to drive in runners when they're standing on second or third? 26 for 126, the Phillies are with runners in scoring position. I'm not a math expert. I struggled with math all throughout my formative years. But to do the fuzzy in my head, that means they've left 100 runners in scoring position through 15 games. 100. How does a team win 9 games when they leave 100 runners in scoring position over the course of 15 games? Please enlighten me. So we'll continue the conversation that Mike Lauro started so eloquently so many hours ago on the Fight and Spinal. We're also going to get into our grading of Dave Dombroski. This is something we tried to do earlier or late last week. A question that was brought up about the Phillies farm system and about why are we constantly, or it seems like we're always waiting for something to happen down there and waiting for that next great player to emerge, and we're still waiting. And now with the problems of Bohm and Marsh, the farm system is going to come under even a bigger spotlight about, okay, let's push some of these people up here and give them a chance to see if it works better than what we've seen. So we're going to grade Dave Dombroski over a handful of moves, maybe about 25 moves. We're going to take about 25 moves that Dave Dombroski has done in his time here in Philadelphia, and we're going to assess a grade, a number grade, like back when we were in school, right? 0 meaning no points, and 100 meaning, excellence, right? 70 is passing. Anything 70 or above is passing. 69 and below is failing. So I know it's not like that in school now. What is passing now? Like 55 or something like that? Damn education system gone to hell. But we're going to do 70 is passing and 169 is failing. So we're going to grade Dave Dombroski. We're going to do of the nights. We're going to do the of the night segment. Continue our talk about Matty B's all-time favorite MLB jerseys, NL West edition tonight. We're going to go into the National League and the Western Division. Our card review and our day in Philadelphia sports history. All those great, wonderful things here on the program. And remind you, everybody, that we need your help. Please like, share, subscribe. Send out the message to your friends. Help us out, especially on the YouTube and Facebook platforms. We definitely could use that assistance there, as we are working hard to make this the best thing in the in the world. And I just want to be very open about that we need your help. So let's get rolling. And we got some messages here, so let's bring up some of them right now. Barbara's kicking us off tonight. Barbara says, "Oh my God, it's bad with this team." I agree. And hopefully tonight, Barbara will be able to assess just how bad. Or maybe we won't. I don't know. Ricky's watching. Hello, Ricky. Good to see you, brother. This team as a whole is bad. This team needs a shakeup. I mean, they have been not since the second half of last season. Fire Rob. And that's an interesting point, Michael, that we are going to talk about that a little bit in detail, because there is a side of the fan base, and it's a legitimate argument that says it's been 15 games. 15 games. The marathon. I'm bringing out the excuses here, but I don't want to go to that. I don't have the strength to go to Big Al's Excuse Emporium tonight. But the baseball is a marathon, not a sprint, which I've said. I ain't gonna deny that. And I agree. And there's hills and valleys all over baseball throughout 162 games and what have you. But this is not 15 games, right? I mean, it's not. Brandon Marsh has been struggling since 2023. Okay. Alec Bohm has gone in the crapper since the home run derby of 2024. So it's not 15 games. And again, the question and it's time. It's time to draw back the curtains on Dave Dombroski. And tonight we're going to try to do some of that. But it's time to start levying some anger and some venom at him. What was the plan, Dave, in 2025? What was your plan this offseason? Was this really it? Was leaning on Alec Bohm and expecting Alec Bohm to pull himself out of a, half a season long slump, getting benched in the playoffs? What was the plan? Because nobody else agreed with that plan. I harken back to the offseason when I would hear rumor after rumor of insiders saying it was not a matter of if Alec Bohm was going to get traded. It was a matter of when he was going to be moved. There was 0% chance he'd be with the Phillies in 2025. Well, here he is. And then have the Philly fan base believe that a platoon option of Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas in center field was still going to work. Who's the stupid fools right now? Is it us for buying that? Or was it Dave Dombroski? And is that really the plan? I hope it's not. I hope that what Al said the other night, and I think that might hopefully hold some weight, that the plan was Justin Crawford. If this thing didn't work, bringing Justin Crawford up. I don't know what the plan for Alec Bohm was. Otto Kemp wasn't probably on anybody's bingo card. Aiden Miller's still a couple years away. So what was the plan for Alec Bohm? Really are we really supposed to believe that Alec Bohm was going to pull himself out of this based on how last season ended? So when does Dave Dombroski begin to feel the heat? And I put up something on the Twitter and the Facebook a few hours ago. Whose seat is hotter, Rob Thompson or Dave Dombroski, or both? Because, we can bash Robbie all we want, and we're going to get into some of Rob's stuff tonight. During the course of today's game, I'm watching, and they take a shot down the third baseline, and there's Alec Bohm standing on third base, and standing directly behind him in left field is Brandon Marsh. So not only did Rob Thompson decide, I'm going to go with Alec Bohm, and I'm going to bat him. What was he batting? Fifth in the lineup or sixth in the lineup today? We're going to get into that, but batting Alec Bohm sixth. But I'm going to put the entire left side of the baseball diamond in the hands of my two worst players right now. The players that are struggling the most on my team, I'm going to trust the entire left-hand side of the diamond to. I mean, what are we doing? What is going on? There's loyalty to players, and then there's like suicide, right? And then Brandon Marsh today, 2 plays out in the outfield. Is he taking some plays off out there? I mean, what's going on now defensively with Brandon Marsh? And Alec Bohm misjudged the ball down the line late in the game. But we're going to put both those players on the same side of the diamond. I can't make this stuff up. I can't. I mean, at one point, did Rob Thompson not look down the third baseline and go, oh, my God, what did I just do here? We got to switch this. Move Marsh into center and put Rojas in left. Why do I have 2 of my most struggling players manning the left-hand side of the baseball diamond? We're going to get into all that, man. Go Phillies. Go where? Joe. All right. So listen, let me take a break from this. I'll get back to this stuff. You guys are awesome. Let's get the show going tonight here. You guys already got me on the rant. Let's start it off as we do every night on the program with your day in Philadelphia sports history. So let's strap on, strap in, strap it up. Keep your head, hands, feet inside the car at all times, and let's roll. On this day back in 1984, on the 21st anniversary of Pete Rose's first career hit, that's right, baseball point, Charlie Hustle collected his 4,000th base knock off of Jerry Koosman of the Phillies in the 5-1 Montreal Expo win. Now, Rose, of course, spent 79 and 83 in Philadelphia, but then left Philly in 84 as a free agent, signed a 1-year deal with the Expos, was then traded subsequently later in the 84 season to the Cincinnati Reds, where he finished his career. But on this night, on the 50th? What did they say? On the 21st anniversary of Pete Rose getting his first ever hit, he collects his 4,000th off of the Phillies, and of course, still to this day, not in the Hall of Fame. And we could discuss Pete Rose's not getting in the Hall of Fame, but that's a conversation for a later night. Less stuff going on, but on this night, Pete Rose, his 4,000th hit on his anniversary of his first. And then we have a dual day in Philadelphia sports history, because I would be remiss if I did not mention this. On this day back in 2009, Hall of Fame voice of the Phillies, Harry Kalas, died of heart disease in the TV booth at Nationals Park, waiting the start of the Phillies Nationals game. Everybody remembers where they were when this happened. Everyone remembers the shock. This team was coming off of a World Series championship. And not to have one, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you, for selfish reasons, when I heard the news, first of all, you're in disbelief. Are you kidding me? No, that can't be. And then second of all, it gone to selfish reasons, like, well, what am I going to do now? How can I listen to a Phillies game? I mean, this is a guy whose voice is synonymous with my summertime, and me and a lot of you out there as well. When I think of summers as a kid in Northeast Philly, Harry Kalas and Richie Ashburn are in that montage. And how are we going to continue on without that? And Tom McCarthy's done well. Yeah, he's okay, right? I mean, he's developing his own style, and it's all hard act to follow. But nothing will be what Harry Kalas was to me and to millions of other people. The sound of our summer, the sounds of our youth, and just a sad day on all of baseball Phillies history, that on this day back in 2009, we lost Harry Kalas. And he is forever going to be on the hearts and minds and lips and voices of people here on this network. I do a Harry Kalas high hopes thing after every Phillies win when I host the Fight and Final. I will continue to do that until the copyright police kill me or arrest me. But I will continue to do that because there's certain things that you just can't forget. And there's a generation of Phillies fans now that have grown up without Harry Kalas, and that's criminal, and that's a shame. And if you ever make it up to Cooperstown, New York, to the Ford C. Frick wing of the Hall of Fame, you can see his plaque. I've been there many times, taking many pictures of it. But on this night back in 2009, Harry Kalas passed away in the booth. I guess that's where he was supposed to go, right? Preparing for a Phillies game. So Pete Rose's 4,000th hit on his 21st anniversary of his first hit, and the passing away of Harry Kalas. back on this day. And those are your days in Phil, or your moments in Philadelphia sports history for this day, this April the 13th. So there we go. There we go. All right. Back to the show. We are going to get into Dave Dombroski, and I think maybe we should start now. Oh, you know what? No, let me get back to the comments, and then we'll get into Dave Dombroski. Where are we here? Joe says, hey, everybody. I'm doing good. Joe, how are you? Phillies need a new president, and there's a vote for the seat being hotter for Dave Dombroski from Joe Hale. John Middleton, the guy Jimmy Rollins said he wants to be George Steinbrenner of the National League. I mean, I don't know if you can blame the owner in this one there, Mike. I mean, John Middleton's trying to do the best he can. He does what his people tell him to do, or, he puts people in charge who he thinks are the right people to be in charge, and he tries to make their dreams come true. And I think for the most part, John Middleton has done that. Now, I don't think John Middleton went out and recruited Trey Turner, and I don't think John Middleton went out and, traded Logan O'Hoppe for Brandon Marsh. That's unfair to say. And you can't fault John Middleton for trying to bring a championship here. We've gone over the farm system problems, right? For years, it was bad. It's so bad that we haven't gotten really any fruit off that tree yet. So what else are we going to do? We're going to sit back and wait for 30 years hopefully for some of these players to sort of mature, or are you going to go out and start spending stupid money? And that's what he did. And I'm not necessarily upset by that. Now, you can equate this any way you want. Did Dave Dombroski go out and get the right players? Well, we're going to try to assess that here in a little bit. And did he trade for the right players? We're going to assess that as well. But that's not necessarily on John Middleton. He did what he thought he had to do to get his effing trophy back here. So Ricky says, go Phillies. Good. I love the uniform segment. Yeah, Barbara, we're going to bring it back. We're in the National League tonight and trying to work our way through to the National League East. Giving Turner that 11-year, $300 million contract at 31 years old. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Even Al knows where there's problems there. Yeah, he does. And I give Al a lot of grief. I give it to him all the time. It's more tongue-in-cheek than anything else. A lot of candid conversations that we have privately. Yeah, we're both kind of on the same page on a lot of things. It's not as oil and water as it appears on air. But Al's the eternal optimist, though. And I'm not going to applaud him for that. I'm not. I'm the internal realist. And, but they are 9-6. So it's not like they're like 3-15. I mean, they're 9-6, but how can you get excited about that? How can you get excited about this team? And how can you think that this team right now is in any position to challenge anybody for anything in Major League Baseball in 2025? I just don't understand. And I know that we are a long way away. We are a millennia away from October. And there's a lot of things that are going to happen. There's a lot of changes that are eventually going to be made. They're going to have to be made. So I'm not saying this is the final product. But at what point do you just say, listen, we can't give away games anymore. And we got to try to make this better. And when you're not fixing it, and when you're not trying to make it different, and you're not bringing different people into the roles to try to light a spark under the team, I mean, how criminal is that? I know there's loyalty and there's dedication, and we've seen Rob's limits of that. We've seen him stay with Castellanos all season last year. I hope to hell that the plan is not to stick with Marsh and Bowman until they work this out. I mean, are you kidding me? I'm not going to make it till like Mother's Day. I'm not like this. And I'm just, what's happened to them? Can anybody answer that question either? What has happened to Brandon Marsh and what has happened to Alec Bohm? I would love to know. To be honest, Phillies haven't been that good since losing to Arizona in the pennant. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get Dave Dombroski in a second. The Phillies need better home runs. I mean, they've hit 16 home runs or 14 home runs. They've hit 14 home runs, Ricky, as a team thus far through 15 games, almost one a game. They've given up 18, so let's cancel it out. They're hitting home runs. That's all they're doing. No surprise there, right? Barbara says she heard that Schwarber turned down a contract extension. Interesting. I have not heard that. Last I had heard was he was all in on trying to get one done. That's interesting. Hey, Middleton. fire Dombroski and try to get Theo Epstein. No, man, we capture the 90s here. Davis' seat is hotter. I think it should be, honestly, because I'm going to go back and I'm going to throw Robbie a lifeline here. I'm going to throw him one of those like those lifeguard tube things, right? I'm going to throw him one because Rob Thompson can only play who he has. Rob Thompson can only put people in positions that he has. Now, we can assess Rob Thompson's managing ability, and we do it all the time here about the lineup problems and maybe about not having Bohm and Marsh on the same side of the diamond, and you have Bohm batting sixth, right, today, which was, what is Bohm doing batting sixth? I mean, he should be happy to be in the lineup, not positioning him in a place of reverence and importance in that lineup. Put his ass down at 9. I'd rather bat Rojas at 6. So I'm going to give Rob Thompson a lifeline here, man. He is only doing with what he has to work with. He can't make lemonade out of these lemons. There's no juice for the squeeze, man. Let's not sugarcoat things. Marsh and Bohm, Kepler are bad. Kepler, all fairness, and again, we're going to get into this. You got to assess Kepler based on what Kepler does. I don't even think Kepler's been given a fair chance. He plays 3 games and he sits for 1. They're platooning him more than they're platooning the center field thing. You got to leave Kepler in there. And I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get to my bold plan to immediately fix the Phillies over the next week. And I'm going to get to that tonight. I'm going to tell you what I think they need to do. Both are the hot seat. Dombroski might be a little hotter right now. I think it might be, and I hope it is, because he's kind of flown under the radar a little bit there, Barbara. He's kind of flown under the radar for his failed trade deadline moves. He flew under the radar for the Brandon Marsh trade, which was a trade that's probably been the worst of Dave Dombroski that he has had since he's been here. The man cannot make a trade deadline trade to save his life, and this is what scares me about him. Every year he fails at these trades. Every year the price gets a little bit more steep because the pressure gets a little bit harder or tighter or deeper for him. Now that we're getting into this year, what's he going to do? Is he going to drop a grenade into the farm system and blow it up on hopes of trying to win a World Series? That's my concern about Dave Dombroski, and I said it back in the winter. I'm concerned if this team was struggling and if they were fringing and tweening and they were like right there, but yet couldn't push themselves overboard. How drastic would Dave Dombroski go through the minor leagues in order to try to bring in some immediate help now? Are we talking about all of them getting traded? 3 out of the top 5, 6 out of the top 10 in order to bring in a couple rental players to maybe push us over the edge? And I don't want that either. I don't want that. So not enough attention is being paid to Dave Dombroski, and I think it needs to. I think it needs to be. This is need better pitching. I don't know about better pitching. Starting pitching has been okay. They can't keep the ball in the yard as a staff, not just the starters, but the entire deal. They can't keep the ball in the yard. And listen, I am not giving the others a pass either. I'm not giving Turner, not giving Harper, who's batting a very modest 250. I'm not giving any of them guys a pass. Schwarber's been consistently hitting, the only one. I'm not giving Castellanos, who's back to his old ways, either a pass. But when your lineup is so devoid of anything 7 or 6 down to 9, why would you give anybody up top of that lineup anything to hit when you know that 5 or 6 players as we move through the lineup are just trash and they're not going to hit anyway? When night after night, you're putting players that are batting, what's Marsh down to, 111? What's Bohm down to, 153? I sent a message into the Fightins Final, and I said, what happens first? Does Marsh bat under 100 first, or do the Phillies as a team bat under 100 with runners in scoring position? What happens first? I mean, talk about futility. So the top of the lineup is trying, but they're getting nothing from down below. So why would pitchers pitch to the top of the lineup? They're not going to let them. They're not going to give them anything to hit. They'll put them on base all day long. They'll walk them. They'll throw everything outside and low and expect. And hopefully the team swings and they are again. If they walk them, no big deal, because the bottom part of the lineup is so inept on anything offensively. So how do you solve that? And that's not just Marsh and Bohm, but there's two players in the lineup that are liabilities right now are too many. But the pitching, I mean, it's been okay. Yeah, God bless Pete Rose. Rest in peace. I got Harry K's autograph once at a Flyers game. I hope you kept that. That's a nice little memento. I was at a game when Harry. You were at that game in Washington? Really, Joe? Wow, that's an awesome. I mean, I want to. Please tell that story. They can't replace Richie Ashburn either. I'm not a Kruk or a Morrow or Ben Davis fan. I like Gary Matthews though. Barbara, it's tough. It's tough, especially people from our generation. You know, you grow up and it's every day, every summer, every season, it's the same voices. And yeah, they were good at what they did, right? But we wouldn't know either way, bad or good, indifferent. They were what it was, and they were what we were used to, and they were our inner monologues of our youth. I mean, when I think of hot summer nights in Philly or hot summer nights in Mayfair, I lived right on the border of Mayfair and Tacony, down there on the 7000 block, right off the 7000 block of Frankfurt Avenue, between Princeton and Tyson Avenues. And hot summer nights growing up, you know, people sitting outside listening to the game on the radio, and you're out there doing whatever you're doing, running up down the street, going for the ice cream man and all that. And then what do you hear? You hear two things. You hear the cicadas chirping along, and you hear the baseball games coming from people's porches. That was my youth, man. I mean, that was what it was every year growing up, and it becomes ingrained in you. And those were the voices that I heard. So, I mean, you know, they're doing, the group now is good. I'm not knocking them, but and I'm sure that the kids growing up today, and I know it's not the same, but kids growing up today are probably thinking similar things of McCarthy and Kruk and Amaro and Ben Davis, who, there's not a bigger homer out there than Ben Davis. Man, I don't know. Adam, how are you, man? Long time no talk. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. What's going on with Bohm? Adam, we're asking that question, man. If you could provide some clarity to that, that would be amazing. But it's been, is it as simple as the curse of the home run derby? Should the Phillies stop sending players to the home run derby? Dom Brown's career went off the deep end after the home run derby, and now Alec Bohm's career has followed suit. Should we stop sending players to the home run derby? I think it's legitimate, man. I think we need to back off the home run derby for a while, especially with players that don't even belong in the home run derby. The Phillies need a new manager. So there's a vote for Rob Thompson's seat being hotter. Okay. Hey, it's all good. Phillies winning the Dodgers series last weekend was a big for the Phillies, and for the Dodgers, it wasn't so big. Michael, it was. And I'm not taking away what they've done. 9 wins, but there is there's not an asterisk to those 9 wins. They're not hitting against starting pitching at all, against anybody's. They beat up on some bullpens. They beat up on the Nationals bullpen. They beat up on the Rockies bullpen. They did beat up on, the Dodgers bullpen and a little bit on their starting rotation. The Dodgers were down a few of their big boppers in that series, right? I'm not going to take away, though, that they beat the Dodgers. I'm not. It was a big series. But we were ready to crown them World Series champions in the first week of April, and it's not. And I'm ready to put dirt on their face in the second week of April, which is not fair either. But there's got to be a happy medium. But it's not like these problems with runners in scoring position, not being able to hit off starting pitching, Bohm, March. It's not like these problems sprouted up in Atlanta and St. Louis. No, these problems have been there for not only the start of this season, but into last season as well. And the question, again, the top of the show's question is this. Was this really the plan? Was thinking Alec Bohm was going to snap out of it and go back to his first half 2024, and that Brandon Marsh all of a sudden was going to figure out how to hit left-hand pitching. Now he can't hit any pitching, but he was going to figure out how to hit left-handed pitching after showing no ability to do it up to this point. Was that really the plan? And are we really supposed to accept that? And can you accept that? Is that even in the realm of reasonability that a baseball executive, a man who's been in baseball for 40 years, was that really what the plan was? It can't be, right? There's got to be a second part to that we're not a party to. And Al might have enlightened us by saying maybe the second part of that plan was when it didn't work, here comes Crawford. When it didn't work, here comes Kemp / Miller / somebody else from the minors. That's got to be the other side of the plan. Is there a signing out there or a trade that's still pending that they're trying to work out that they haven't been able to announce yet? Because this could not be the plan. As simple and stupid as this is, a man who's been in baseball for over 40 years could not have gone into the season thinking that Brandon Marsh, who has not hit left-hand pitching ever in his career, was going to all of a sudden figure out how to hit left-handed pitching and not forget how to hit right-handed pitching, and that Alec Bohm was going to pull himself out of a slump that spanned for about 4 months. That can't be the plan, right? I'm having a hard time believing that was the plan. There's got to be more to that, right? Maybe they need the torpedo. Maybe they need torpedoes and blow some things up. I heard Schwarber turned. Really, I will. Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And that might be more telling than a lot of other things. But if that's true, I'm going to look into that. Bohm uses torpedoes bat. He needs to use a torpedo. But all right, let's get into what we came here tonight. I'm going to finally get around to assessing Dave Dombroski. I have my notebook. I got my pen. I got some of the moves that we're going to go over, and we're going to assess. Now, I could do this one of two ways. I can do this either by me giving the number grade, or you guys can give me a number grade, or we can come up with a consensus of a grade. Let's just see how it kind of works out. Let's get started with assessing and grading Dave Dombroski here on the program tonight. And I must have closed it out. Hang on. Let me bring it back up. Goddamn. All right. Let's bring it up. Dave Dombroski and his moves. Now, these are not in any sort of chronological order. Maybe some of them are, but we are going to assess them. And I'll do the first one for us. JT Realmuto, a 5-year, $115.5 million contract back in 2021 or at the end of 2020. Listen, I'm not going to bash on this one because JT was in the prime of his career at that point. Letting him walk after 2 years of giving up at that time a high pitching prospect in Sixto Sanchez would have been pretty messed up. I'm going to give him a solid 85 on that one. That's an 85, right? It hasn't aged well, obviously, and we're into his last year, but for the most part, it's been a good contract. It's been a very good move. Again, Sixto didn't work out for the Marlins and what have you, but it was a pretty bold move at the time when they brought him here. So to re-sign him and keep him here for ended up being, I guess, 7 years when it's all said and done with, I think it's all right. Now we got Didi Gregorius' 2-year, $28 million deal. There's going to be a few of these types of trades and deals that we're going to maybe give like a 50 to. I'm going to give it a 50, and not because it's a bad or good. It's just middle of the road. It cancels itself out. It was a depth move. We didn't have a shortstop at the time or a second baseman. Wasn't between Didi and Gene Segura kind of going back and forth. So we were waiting for Bryson Stott to come up. So I'm going to give that one a 50. That's middle of the road, yeah. And here we go. Taijuan Walker, 4 years, $72 million. Let's talk about this one in depth. So the first 2 years of Taijuan Walker's contract wasn't really good. And the money is what stands out to me here. It's the money. We got to look at why we brought him here, right? We brought him here to replace Zach Eflin. Was it the right thing to do? I don't know. It's turned out not to be the right thing to do. It's been a bad contract up to this point. 4 years, 72 or 20, 4 years, 72 million. He's got 2 more years left. Let's give this one, I'm going to give it a 40. Don't forget, we're not doing letters. We're doing numbers here. We're doing number grades. Back when I was going through school, I didn't get A's, B's, and C's. I got like a 60, a 70, 80, a 90, or 100, right? So with 70 being passing and 69 and below being failing, I'm going to give the Taijuan Walker contract a 40. Okay. The money was not the money. I always had a problem with the money. I didn't have a problem with the years, but I had a problem with the money. And obviously it hasn't worked out. But through 2 starts of 2025, he's been a bright spot. Matter of fact, he set the Phillies up for 2 wins. That's 2 less wins they would have had. They'd be 7-6 right now without that. So, let's kind of look at it in that way. But so I'm going to give Taijuan, but I'm going to give it a 40. I'm not going to give it a 0. I'm not going to give it a 10. I'm going to give it a 40 because it's worked out. It's worked out so far for 2 starts this year. And his first year of his contract in 2023, he was the first pitcher in the National League to reach 12 wins. He fell off of it in September of 23 and hasn't been able to recapture it since. But so far, so good this year. So I'm going to give it a 40. I don't like the money. I like the years. Don't like the money. I'm going to give him a 40. Archie Bradley, Chase Anderson, and Matt Moore. They were all signed to 1-year deals. Now, these were all depth moves. The Archie Bradley move was probably the worst out of the Chase Anderson, Matt Moore deals. We were trying to rebuild a pitching staff. Anderson and Moore were expendable pieces, journeymen around the league. We needed a 4 and a 5 at the time. They fit the bill. Archie Bradley, though, was more of a letdown. I mean, we were asking him to come in here. Remember those days, asking Archie Bradley to be the closer? That didn't work out. That did not work out. So I'm going to assess all 3 of these dudes. I'm going to give it a 20. I'm going to give it a 20 for Bradley, Anderson, and Moore. These signings, none of them worked out. Moore and Anderson didn't even make it through the season, and Bradley was a bust the year that he was here. So I'm going to give it a 20. I'm going to assess all 3 of those in one bold stroke of 20. Kyle Schwarber, 4 years, $79 million. Got to give it a 90. Yeah, regardless of how I feel about Schwarber in the leadoff situation, he's been a stalwart. It's one of the better deals the Phillies have made. So I'm going to give it a 90. Castellanos, 5 years, $100 million. I hated this move at the time. I don't know if it was a matter of assessing that 5th year. I think that's, Castellanos wanted that 5th year. I never liked this move. I never liked the signing, and he has been underwhelming in his time here in Philadelphia. So I'm going to give Castellanos. I'm giving it a 60. I mean, he's had his moments, but it hasn't been 5 years, $100 million worth his moments. So I'm going to give him a 60, Castellanos. So let's check everybody else so far. I'm going kind of fast. Let me slow it down and bring you guys back in here. Good God, man, you guys are killing me here. I don't even know where did I leave off? Okay, go Phillies. Barbara says Padres went for Manny over Harper, and it seems to be working out for them. Yeah, but don't forget, Dombroski didn't sign Harper, right? That was a Clintac move, so he gets a pass on that one, Barbara. I can't assess Dombroski for that. Now, I would maybe if Dombroski gives Harper the extension, yeah, Dombroski can inherit that, but that was a Clintac move, so we'll leave that one alone. So yes, according to a report from the Ken Roosevelt of The Athletic, Kyle Schwarber did turn down a contract extension offer from the Phillies during the offseason. So interesting. Very interesting. Maybe it was a strategic move from Kyle trying to raise up his stock, and he's so far so good. I don't think the Phillies are going to be able to afford him. And so this is what makes this year even that much more important for the Phillies. Marsh is presently at 108. So did I give him what? I gave him 111, didn't I? Yeah, okay, 108. Robbie gets no pass and has been bad as a questionable since managing not just this season, but the last couple also. Yeah, no, it absolutely. Michael says Harry Callis and Gene Hart simply the best. 100%. 100%. I think Bohm is scared to hit and field. I think he is too. Erin Dolan cuts Bohm's hair now too. She controls him. Maybe she needs to cut Marsh's hair. Maybe that's what he needs to do. Step out of that dugout with a shaved head and no beard. Maybe he needs to start over again, man. I grew up in Feltonville in Kensington listening to the Phillies. Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about, Michael. You know those nights. Fired a Phillies manager. Why did Thompson sit Stott and not Bohm? That is a great question. JT signing is a B-. All right, so I gave a JT signing an 85. It's about a B-. Didi gave him a -50. Listen, that was a depth move at the time. I was okay with that. Don't forget, Didi had a little, veteran. We were waiting on Stott. We didn't really have an option. It was Segura. That was it. I mean, we needed a second key to that. So I was okay with that. The key is they must let JT go after this year. No more extension for him. Absolutely. Philly's new manager. Joe House's Walker's a failure. But is he? The first year of the deal, first pitcher in the NL to get to 12 wins. Yeah, he fell off a cliff in September. His ERA went from like 3.45 to like 9.75 in September. He hasn't had it in 24. There's been some reports circulating around that he might have been hurt now. So far through the first two starts of this season, he's been a godsend, Joe. I mean, let's give the guy the credit he deserves. If it hadn't been for him those first two starts, where would we be right now? We'd be probably 2 more losses. So you got to give him. You got to look at this thing holistically a little bit. I gave him like a 40. I didn't give him something great. I gave him a low grade. Walker gets a 0. They should just run Walker over 5 days and give him. They have no choice right now, Barbara. I just looked up the Schwarber. Did turn down a contract at the beginning of the season. He said he wants to go year to year like he did with the Cubs. Okay, and we'll see. Walker gets a 25. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's fair. Joe House is a 35. Bradley Moore Anderson gets a negative 20. I gave him a 20. I gave him a 20 on that. Anderson and Moore fit a need for this team at the bottom end of the rotation in 2021 where they needed to fill some bodies, man. I get it. It wasn't a long-term move. It was Dombroski came in December that year. He had to get the rotation filled out. There wasn't anything in the minor leagues. He went out there and he picked off the bottom of the barrel. Neither one of them made it through the end of the season. The Bradley signing, Mike, is the one that really pissed me off because that was a bust. Bradley was nothing for us. Nothing like he was in Arizona when he came here. That's what got me was the Bradley signing. Joe Hale says Kyle Schwarber's 95. Schwarber 95. Castellanos 75. Really? And I gave him what did I give him? I gave him a 60. I gave him a 60 on that one. Wow. Michael Patrick giving Castellanos a 75. Joe Hale gives him a 65. And the manager needs to go by Ricky Deal. Okay. All right. So what are we? Trey Turner, 11 years, $30 million. So before we give our grade, I just want to think about this for a second. Let's think about this for a second. Trey Turner was the hottest thing smoking coming out in that free agent class. Trey Turner was the missing ingredient at that time. What he had done with the Dodgers and the Nationals. I was all on the Trey Turner train, and I still am. Now, when I look at 11 years, $300 million, now when I look at that now, I'm like, that don't work for me. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you on the night that they signed him that I wasn't all on board. But now that I look at 11 years, $30 million, now he won't play that contract out. But listen, for going all in and going after the hottest thing smoking in that free agent group, I'm going to give it a 75. All right, I'm giving it a 75. Now, that's not the grade you should be giving a player who signs an 11-year, $30 million contract, but I'm going to give it a 75 because I was all on board. Now, it has not worked out the way I think a lot of us wanted it to. He's been very inconsistent in the field. Matter of fact, he's regressed as a shortstop, and his hitting has been inconsistent. But how much do you put on the system of Trey Turner's problems? He's bounced all over the lineup. Second, first, fourth, third. I've seen him at 7th and 8th. He's bounced all over the lineup. How much do you put on Rob Thompson for Trey Turner's offensive issues? Why can't we just put him at leadoff and leave him there? Why do we got to constantly rotate people around? So I'm going to give him a 75. I think we're still going to see better times from Trey Turner. I think when Rob Thompson finally does get kicked the hell out of here and somebody comes in here, an older baseball guy who understands baseball and puts Trey Turner somewhere in the lineup and leaves him there, I think you're going to see a change in Trey Turner. I think Turner's problems, inconsistencies, not his problems, but his inconsistencies are stemming from Rob Thompson and his lack of rolls. Man, does Rob Thompson just roll up his lunch meat because he doesn't use rolls? I mean, good God. 75 for Turner. That's what I'm going to go with on that one. Turner was also on every team. He was, yeah. And then there's something to that, right, Barbara? Turner is 70. Yeah. Trey's contract, 31 years old, getting 11 years, no trade guarantee. Bad was bad. He gets 75. Yeah. And as I said, the numbers, but still, I rallied on this show on the Fightins final in 2023, just about every single night I could about bringing Trey Turner here. And I really thought he was the missing piece. And it hasn't been to that point yet. But I'm wondering how much is it Turner or is it Thompson or is it a combination of both? So I'm going to go with a 75. And then my final signing that we're going to talk about, Matt Strom for $750,000. That's a home run. I'm going to give the Matt Strom signing a 95. Matt's been a pretty consistent part of that back end of the bullpen, that 6th, 7th inning piece. That's where he belongs anyway. I thought that was a really good move to steal him from the Red Sox, and it's really worked out for this bullpen. So there you go. I'm going to go with Matt Strom signing. I'm going to give that a 95. And then let's add these things up. I'm going to add them up real quick. These are the signings. We're going to get to the trades here in a second, but let's add them all up and divide, and we'll find out what we gave Dombroski as a on his signings. All right, so 20. Wish I had like one of those supercomputers. 90, 60, 75, and 95 divided by, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, divided by 8. So here we go. A 64. That's what Dave Dombroski has graded out on his signings of 64. So on our scale, he's failing by 6 points. A 64, folks. Now let's get to the trades. Let's get to the trades, shall we? All right. This is when it's going to get fun. First trade we're going to talk about is one of the more recent ones. Trading Sterling Caba, who was one of our prospected shortstops, along with Emarian Boyd, who's a prospect left fielder, to the Marlins for Jesus Luzardo. And catcher Paul McIntosh is a depth piece currently in Double-A. I got to give that 100 right now. Right now, I'm going to give that 100 because that's been another stabilizing factor to this. The problems that Nola's had start the season, I'm going to give that one a 100. That's been an out of the ballpark type of hit right now for the Phillies. Got to be fair about this. That was a good move. Luzardo was somewhat damaged goods coming off of an injury, and they were able to make a deal with 2 lower level minor leaguers. And who may or may not turn out to be something, but we got a pretty good stacked crew at shortstop and middle infield. And our outfield prospects look pretty deep as well. So I'm going to give that one 100, the Luzardo trade. Let's now talk about the trade that sent Jose Alvarado to the Phillies. So the Rays traded Jose Alvarado to the Phillies. Los Angeles traded a player to be named later to the Rays, and the Phillies traded left-hand pitcher Garrett Clevenger to the Dodgers. So a 3-team deal to bring Jose Alvarado. Garrett Clevenger has never ascended any higher than AAA. He's been stuck down there. Alvarado is one of those middling players that we just really are hoping that one of these days he's going to be the guy that we want him to be, but still he's a reliable member of our back end of our bullpen. And for what we gave up, which has not turned out to be anything at the major league level, I'm going to give it a solid 85. I'm going to give the Alvarado trade an 85. It was a low. It turned out that it didn't cost us much, and we've gotten a lot out of Alvarado. Now, granted, is it what it should be? No, but we've gotten a lot out of him, and we've seen flashes of brilliance from him. So I'm going to give the Alvarado trade an 85. Oh, here's my favorite one. Oh, yeah. Traded Logan O'Hoppe to the Los Angeles Angels for Brandon Marsh. Now, yeah, let's call it what it is. It's a 0. I mean, there's nothing right now. That trade, I went on a rant about that the other day on the Fightins final. it might go down in history as like the Ryan Sandberg trade when we traded Sandberg to the Cubs for Ivan De Jesus and Bob Denier. It's going to probably turn out to be something like that. Yeah, it's probably one of the worst trades. It's one of the worst trades in Phillies history. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a lot of negative 10s here. Michael Papernick says, let's 100 for Luzardo deal. Yeah. Trade for Luzardo 95. It's been a pretty good one. Alvarado an 80. Yeah. 85. And then here we go, a 0. Clemens trade at 0. We'll get to that. Don't skip ahead, Barbara. Joe Hell's giving it a negative 10. And then the Marsh trade is 0. Yes, I agree with you, but we're going to go with a 0. Then it's the Cardinals trade, sending Jojo Romero from the Phillies to the Cardinals for Sosa, man. This was an under-the-radar move that was done in the summer of 22, and it's really worked out well for the Phillies. You know, I shudder to think where we'd be this season without Armando Sosa. So I'm going to give that one a solid 85. I'm going to give that one an 85 because Romero, I mean, he pitched today, whatever. Jojo was not going anywhere with the Phillies. He's what he is. But Armando Sosa has been a blessing for this bench for the last 3 seasons. And again, I shudder to think where we would be without Armando Sosa. So I'm going to go ahead and give that one an 85. So it looks like he's doing better with the trades than he is with the signings. Now let's go with the another trade deadline deal. Carlos Estevez to the Phillies for right-hand pitcher, high prospect George Klassen, and left-hand pitcher Samuel Algareri. This gets a 0 for me as well. An absolute 100% 0 because you mortgaged 2 very high-touted, lower-level minor leaguers in Klassen and Algareri for a rental player that was here for 2.5 months. You threw away potentially 12 years of pitching for a rental player. And this was the first trade last season that started to scare me about what he was doing to the minor leagues, that he was going to start plucking out these and we talked about both Klassen and Algareri a lot last year on the Down on the Farm segment. They were constantly being profiled every week for being pitchers of the week at their respective levels. And I was like, oh man, no. And then when I heard this, I'm like, that's a terrible trade. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 0, man, because it didn't work out for us at all. The Angels have fleeced the Phillies. They have absolutely fleeced us. And we're going to get to the one that it might have worked out better for us, but they have fleeced us in these trades with Dombroski. Now we're going to talk about the trade Barbara just mentioned, the Tigers trading. Well, no, I'm sorry, this is not that one. This is the trade that brought Michael Lorenzen here for second baseman. What was this? Second baseman for right-hand pitcher. For second baseman Ho Yu Lee, which was a lower-level prospect. Lorenzen came in here, pitches a no-hitter in his first game with us, then nothing after that. I'm going to give it a 50. It's going to be years before we find out what Lee does with the Tigers, if he ever even makes it that far. I'm going to give that one a 50 because we did get something out of Lorenzen. We got a no-hitter, 14th in franchise history. So I'm going to give that one a 50, the Lorenzen trade. Then the Cubs trade in 2022, David Robertson to the Phillies for Ben Brown. Robertson filled a need for us during that season. Again, Ben Brown is still in the minors with the Cubs. He's nowhere near the major leagues. I'm going to give that one a 70 because Robertson really did fill a need, especially down the stretch into the playoffs and into the World Series. I'm going to give that one a 70. That was a pretty decent move. I was okay with that. Then the trade last year, Tanner Banks coming over from the White Sox for shortstop William Bergolla. Banks is still here. It was a team-controlled left-hand pitcher reliever for William Bergolla, who was like the 25th ranked prospect in our organization at the time. Again, he's a shortstop, kind of crowded there. Banks is still here, and he serves a purpose. He's not in the right role, but he serves a purpose for this team. I'm going to give the Tanner Banks trade a 75 as well, because we gave up a lot in terms of a prospect who could, this kid could be something, but Banks has been a stabilizing presence in that bullpen too. Maybe not great, but he's here, and he was not a rental. He's under control. So I'm going to give that one a 75. So let's see how we're stacking up here. I'll go back to the comments now. Oh man. Marsh trade 0. Sosa 85. That was a good one, man. That was out of nowhere. Mike gives it 100. JoJo was on steroids on the Phillies. I know he did he crushed Red Bull cans or something with his forehead or something like that. Joe Ellis is -1. Phillies had the worst minor league system in MLB. It will take years to fix that. Yeah, and we'll get to that here at the end of this. Estevez was a 10 Estevez 10 as he was a closer with the Angels, and Robbie does not like using a typical. And that's why I gave that trade a low rank, because I think I gave it a 0. What did I give that one? A 0? Yeah, or 50 or whatever I give the 0. Because he was a closer that was coming here not to close, right? He was a closer that was coming here not to close, and we gave up 2 very young, highly prospected pitchers that are going to be under Angel control for 12 years, until they're ready. That's why I gave that. That's why to me it was a terrible trade. A terrible trade. Lorenzen at 25. Wow. You don't even give him any props and any love for the no-hitter there, man. 75 for Robertson. 80 for Robertson. Yeah, it was I thought that was a good trade. Banks 75. Banks trade a 5. Tanner Banks love it all, man. Crockett almost pitching no-hitter. I saw that. Too bad we couldn't convince. Yeah, I saw that. And the Banks trade, I'm at 75. Okay, that's a bit better. All right, so we got the Banks trade. We just did Robertson, Banks. All right, then this is the trade that Barbara was talking about. The Tigers, Soto for Clemens. We got Soto and Cody Clemens for Matt Verling, Nick Maton, Donnie Sands. What do you think? Be honest. Greg Soto never materialized to be anything. Cody Clemens is a bench piece, but is he really, though? Is Cody Clemens really a major league bench piece? And they got Verling, who played, Maton. I guess the centerpiece of that trade is the Verling and Sands. I don't think Verling's even with the Tigers anymore. I thought I saw him. He was not even there anymore. This is a tough one, man. This was an equally bad trade across the board. Let's give that one a 50 because it worked out it didn't work out at all for either team. All right, let's give that one a 50. And then the Angels trade, another trade to the Angels. We got Syndergaard for Mickey Moniak and Yadiel Sanchez. Throwing in Sanchez, who was a higher level type guy. For Syndergaard, who didn't work out. Moniak was nowhere. I'm going to give that one a 50 as well. That one, that trade canceled it canceled itself out. So I'm going to give that one a 50 as well. That didn't work out for me, for anybody. Astros trading Garrett Stubbs to the Phillies for outfield Logan Kearney. Kearney's not with the Astros. I don't think Kearney's in baseball right now. He's not with the Astros anymore. Stubbs is not with the Phillies anymore. He's down in the Lehigh Valley. We'll give that one a 50 as well. And then the last one we're going to talk about here. No, we got a few more. I'm sorry. Baltimore trades Austin Hayes to the Phillies for Sir Anthony Dominguez and Christian Pache. Say what you want about Sir Anthony. Say what you want about him. And yeah, did he need a change of venue? Yes. But what he provided in the back end of a bullpen is something we could use right now. Austin Hayes came here and did absolutely nothing. Nothing. That one's a 20. I'm going to give that one a 20. Because, yeah, I'm not saying that Sir Anthony was going to cure all of our problems. But for what Austin Hayes brought here, now regardless, Hayes was sick. He was injured, the kidney thing. I get that. But still, he brought nothing here. And we gave up a 98-mile-an-hour throwing relief pitcher. So I'm going to give that one a 20. That was a terrible trade, in my opinion. Again, not because I'm a Sir Anthony guy, just trying to get some return value. Then the Phillies traded Soto to Baltimore for Seth Johnson and Moises Chase. I'm giving that one a 90. That's got a potential to be a really good trade. Both Johnson and Chase. Johnson's in AAA. Chase is in AA. They're both playing well. I'm going to give that one a 90, at least for potential right now, because it's hard to grade that trade until these pitchers get here. But I'm going to give it a 90. And then we got Christian Pache from the A's for right-hand pitcher Billy Sullivan. That to me is a 50. That canceled itself out. Didn't work out for anybody. And then Al's trade right here, getting Junior Marte from the Giants for Eric Miller. I'm going to give that one a 50 as well. So then that didn't work out for anybody either. So there you go. That's the moves we're going to talk about Let's go back and let's check this out here. 0.0 for Clemens. Verling is still on this. Is he really? Yeah. I'm going to give it a 50 because I'm going to give it a 50. Kind of cancels out. 35. Soto and Clement at 45. Yeah, 50. Moniak trade of 40. So you're saying that Moniak for Syndergaard was a better trade for the Angels, Mike? I mean, it didn't work out for either one. What did I give that one? Yeah, I give it like a 50. Yeah, that's about right. Stubbs trade, negative 45 for a party boy. Hayes is Kepler without the kidney infection. That's important. Hayes of 15. Hayes trade of 15. Flailing, lazy, disinterested bum Phillies. 95%. Yeah, that was potentially a good trade. 40 for Pache. Soto trade an 80. Yeah, that was a good. I think that's going to be a good one. Mike says Pache trade 30. Marte trade a 25. I give it a 50. Cancel it out, man. So let's add them up here. So we don't forget, Dave Dombroski, we got a 64 in his signings. Now let's add up his trades. And here we go. So we got let's clear this out. 100, 85, a 0. That must make the Logan O'Hoppe trade. 85, 0, a 50, a 70, a 75, a 50, a 50, a 50, a 20, a 90, and 2 50s. All right, and let's divide that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Divided by 15. 825. That's a 55. So Dave Dombroski gets a 55 for his trades, a 64 for his signings. Let's add these up together. Find out what Dave Dombroski's final grade is as Phillies GM or vice president in charge of player personnel. A 59.5. We'll give him the rule of 5. We'll round it up. So Dave Dombroski so far has achieved a grade of 60 in his time as Phillies president of baseball operations. A 60. And we assessed that a 69 and below was a failing grade. So there you have it. Dave Dombroski gets a 60. Now, how does that make you feel going forward? And in some crucial times with this team, crucial moments for this team. What is the plan? Thank you, Barbara. What is the plan? Alec Bohm, Brandon Marsh. What is the plan? We just assessed Dave Dombroski as a 60 through signings and trades. A 60. And we might have been kinder than it probably should be. I should have been maybe harsher with some of them. But I was being fair. I was giving all the trades that canceled it out, giving them a 50. What's the plan? And how scared are you that not only this guy doesn't have a plan to make the team better, apparently doesn't even know how to make the team better. So I'm going to ask it again. What's the plan? And can this be really the plan? Was the plan to assume that Alec Bohm was going to pull himself out of a 4-month slump and that Brandon Marsh was going to figure out how to hit left-handed pitching, and yet he hadn't been able to figure it out up to this point? What's the plan? And when should we start getting scared? Emphasizing Dombroski needs to go, but the manager will go first. Yeah, he does. Are we doing draft grades? Oh, you know what? We can do that another night. If we do draft grades, Joe will be here till like 4 a.m. But that's a good question. We could do draft grades. Yeah, absolutely. We'll figure that out, and we'll do a draft. We'll do a draft part. Good point, Joe Hale, bringing up another valuable point to the show. We will do Dave Dombroski's drafts. Matter of fact, maybe we'll do that right before the 2025 draft to kind of get everybody in the mood for that. So yeah, we absolutely will do that. But Dave Dombroski, through his tradings, he got a 64 in his signings. He got a 55 in his trades. We average them all together. He finishes with a 60 as a final score as the president of baseball operations of the Phillies. Are you scared now? I certainly am. But all right, let's go to our Of the Night segment here on the program. We're way behind. But let's do the Of the Night segment. Yep. The other night segment tonight, we are headed back to baseball. Well, we're going to stay in baseball. We're going to go back to the, Joe Hale mentions the draft, and let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about the 2025 and MLB draft with yet another one of our prospects, another one of the players that the Phillies might be in line to draft. Tonight's draft prospect is outfielder Slater DeBron from Summit, Oregon. He is a high schooler, played in the perfect game system out there in Oregon. Last year, first jumping on the radar as an underclassman at the WWBA in Jupiter in 2023, not the planet, but the part in Florida. DeBron's profile took a step forward with his performance on the summer showcase circuit. He has a very impressive bat-to-ball skills with an advanced eye at the plate, understanding that his job is to put the ball in play and get on base. Oh, my God. Well, say it ain't so, man. Is there a baseball player out there that actually wants to do that? Then using his well above average speed on the base paths. Power is never going to be a huge part of his game, and some evaluators worry about impact, while others see some thump in his left-handed swing with more physicality than Carroll. That would be Corbin Carroll at this stage. So Slater DeBron, to put it in layman's terms, maybe this will help you understand the 21st century Lenny Dykstra. All right, a contact hitter at the top of your lineup that uses his speed, but uses all fields and can actually hit with contact. Not Johan Rojas. It's going to kind of labor, throwing down bunts. But this is kind of a Len Dykstra 21st century version. And the Corbin Carroll comp is valid here. It's the same type of player. Definitely somebody at 26 where the Phillies would be selecting. That would interest me if I was Preston Mattingly and the rest of the crew over there. But I would be definitely interested in Slater DeBron if he falls down to 26 to the Phillies' hands. He's a younger player, high schooler. But yeah, I would definitely be looking at him at 26 if he survives. So there you have it. Your player of the night, or your spotlight player, or your draft player of the night. Dombroski already done draft grades. Mike says he was scared 2 years ago. I'm scared now, Mike. I'm not lying. I'm scared now. What are your thoughts on the painter? I thought it was very impressive. I watched it 100 miles an hour 3 times. He only pitched, an inning and a third, 37 pitches. A lot of movement on his pitches, though. The ball was moving out there. And it was not just moving velo-wise, but it was moving. It had break. It had tail. It had everything, man. It looked great. He looked like he hadn't pitched in 2 years, but his stuff is still there. Matter of fact, Tommy John surgery, and he's throwing 100 miles an hour 3 times, less than 2 years from Tommy John surgery. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I think, Joe, another start in Clearwater, a 50-ish pitch limit this time, then pop them up north, either to Reading or Jersey Shore. 2 more starts up there. Both those starts, I'd put maybe a 75 pitch limit on start number 3. And then I would put like a no limit on start number 4. And then after that, I'd push him up to Lehigh, give him 2 starts up there of unlimited pitch count. And then we got something from there. So the road has begun, but it looked good. Can we do a draft? We are going to do something. Are you talking about for the Dombroski thing? Yeah, we will do that. Dombroski gets a negative 100 for extended ingredient. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the manager. I thought that'd be unfair. Listen, the point is, Dave Dombroski's failing. All right, we've proven that tonight. Sounds like a stock clone, no power. LOL. No, more like a Lenny Dykstra clone. Barbara, honestly, I've seen this kid play. I think he's more of a Lenny Dykstra clone. Pitching is not the issue with the Phillies right now. No, I think the Phillies actually pitching wise is pretty good. Even depth in the system. I wouldn't be surprised for them. I mean, Dante Nori was their first round pick last year, which was a center fielder. I wouldn't be surprised in taking another outfielder or position player in this year's first round as well. So, all right, let's now get to our new segment that we talked about last week. We started it with the MattyB's all-time favorite jerseys of MLB history. We're in the National League now. We're going to start the West, but let's recap the AL. Starting with the AL West, here were my favorite jerseys of all time in the American League West. Some jerseys of note here: the Oakland A road jerseys of the early '80s, I thought were awesome. The Seattle Mariners home jerseys of the early '80s. There's a theme to me in these jerseys. There's a lot of early '80s stuff in here for me because to me it really worked. But that Mariners jersey, that Trident M. That's the bomb, man. Again, I give the same guy that came up with the concept of wrapping a halo around the A for the Angels, the same props for the guy that came up with the Trident M for the Mariners. So this was my AL West, my AL Central jerseys all time. A couple of jerseys of note here. That Chicago White Sox home jerseys of the mid to late 70s. You never can fail when you stick a butterfly collar on a baseball jersey, man. Talk about disco fever for the mid to late 70s. The Chicago White Sox butterfly collar jerseys were the bomb. And then when you coupled those with the shorts they wore, it don't get more 70s than that, folks. It really don't. The Twins road jerseys of the early 80s as well. Really an all-time favorite of mine overall. The Chicago White Sox road jerseys of the early 90s, right down there, was a favorite of mine as well. And the Indians jerseys of the late 70s, the red ones, the road jerseys, are also an all-time favorite of mine. So there's the AL Central, and then the AL East real quick. Pretty plain Jane here in the AL East. You got two teams in the Red Sox and Yankees that pretty much haven't changed anything over the years. Then you got the Blue Jays, who have had different types of uniforms, but I'm going to stay with these 80s home and aways because to me they're the classic ones. The Baltimore Oriole home jerseys of the early 80s and their current road jerseys are my favorites. And then I could give a damn less about the Rays, and I just went with the ones that did not offend me the least, and that's what I came up with with the Rays. So that leads me now to the National League and to the National League West, and here we go. The National League West jerseys. Let's start out with two of my all-time favorite jerseys of all time. All time. The home and road jerseys of the late 70s, early 80s San Diego Padres. Now, before you all jump off a cliff on me here, I understand that this, especially the brown one, the road one, it's either hate or love. There's no in between when it comes to that jersey. But I don't care. There's something about those jerseys, those home and those road jerseys. I don't know what it is about them for me. I just cannot get enough of it. Maybe it brings back memories of Sunday afternoons at 6:00 watching the Phillies playing in San Diego at Jack Murphy Stadium when I was like 12 years old. I don't know. It's very nostalgic to me, those jerseys. And they're pullovers, which I think really work for me. They're pullovers. So, yes, I know the colors. It's really either love or hate with them, but I love them. And I have a road Padre jersey. I bought one, man. That's how much I like that jersey. I also like the old Canucks jerseys with the V, the brown and yellow V down the front. I mean, I don't know. I dig that combination, and I dig the Padres home jerseys of that time as well. I mean, to me, that's just a classic baseball look. And they're my all-time favorite San Diego Padre jerseys. Dodgers, listen, again, we're going to go back to a team that really hasn't changed much over the years. Their home jerseys have pretty much been the same since they were in Brooklyn. The only difference with the road jerseys are some years as Dodgers, some years as Los Angeles. So, I went with the Dodger home road jersey and the old Fernando jersey there, synonymous with my youth. So Dodgers got kind of fallen to that Yankee Red Sox thing for me. It's just, they never change. It's a classic look, and they're going to stay with it. The Giants uniforms, again, same thing with the Padres. This is the Giants and late home and away from the late 70s, early 80s. I love it, man. I love this look. The way the Giants is written across the front. And again, with that dark brown, blackish color down there. Again, I love that look. I have a road Giants jersey from 1980, a Will Clark jersey. I just love that look. They should go back to that. The Padres should go back to those. The Giants should go back to these. That to me was a great look for them, and it's one of my all-time favorites. Diamondbacks, following the same group as the Rays, really have everything that the Diamondbacks have ever put out to me has never done anything for me. These are the two that just least offended me throughout their history. This is their current home jerseys and their 2000 road jerseys. So I'm going to go with that. And then same thing with the Rockies, their current home jerseys and their current road jersey and their current roads. So it's hard when it comes to these expansion teams and some of the color schemes that they've come up with. And I don't know if you've seen the new Rocky City Connects. Talk about hideous and ugly. But there you go. There's the the NL West of MattyB's all-time favorite jerseys, and we're getting closer and closer to the big reveal of the NL East, which we'll talk about Philly stuff too. So there you have it. So let's get back to here. AL West Astros 70 jerseys was hot. Yeah, so was the now the 70s jerseys. I like the 80s roads. To me, the only team in baseball history ever to wear white on the roads, on the road, was those Astros 80s jerseys, man. Dodgers are classic. I like the script Los Angeles and the road jerseys, though. They bounce back and forth. 1 year is Dodgers, 1 year is Los Angeles, 1 year is both. I mean, they just can't seem to figure out what they're doing with the roads. I went with the road Dodgers because of the Fernando thing, because that was they were doing that when he was playing. So I just went with that. But yeah, it's a classic look, man. It's a classic look. Bring back memories of watching Tony Gwynn. Joe, listen, man. It's a love or hate relationship with those Padres uniforms and those Padres jerseys. I love them. I think they're, as you mentioned, it brings back memories of watching Tony Gwynn. It brings back all those memories. It brings back memories of Tony Gwynn, the Friar logo, the mascot they used to have. It just, to me, is simple days, man. Simpler times for me as a kid. I love them, man. I will always love those jerseys. Love the Giants in black. Yes. Again, sometimes you don't got to change things. Go back to those, man. They're nice. They're hot. They pop. Rockies are bad franchise. I never cared, and they can't get uniforms correct either, Barbara. So I like the Milwaukee Brewers Brew Crew jersey. I think it's their City Connect. Yeah, we're going to get to the Brewers tomorrow when we talk about the NL Central, Mike. All right, so let's go into the best part of the night. The best part of the night. That's right, MattyB's card review. We're going to wrap up the show with this. Good show tonight. Okay. Covered a lot of good ground. MattyB's card review segment for this night. We are, of course, taking one of my very many sports cards. We've been doing this for a while, and we just sort of hash it out, talk nostalgia about them, talk financial value, intrinsic value, just have some fun with players that we might not have heard about or spoken about for some time. We were all baseball last week. We are going into hockey tonight. That's right, man. I'm going on to the frozen ice tonight, and we're talking about a player that really played in the 90s, most for the best part of his career, was a goalie, and really kind of, scraped out a decent career for himself. It was a pain in the butt when the Flyers dealt with him. But, and he's had some success at the international level, never really had much success at the NHL level in terms of championships, played for some bad teams, but Definitely a player from my youth that I remember very well. And that would be Cujo, man. Some Curtis Joseph and his 1991 scorecard. This is his rookie card, the 91-92 score. Now there's two versions of this card. There's the purple one you see here, and there's a blue one. There's a blue border and a purple bordered one. Both these are the base cards out of the 91 score. Nothing poppy about them, nothing flashy, just baseline as they are. Pretty worthless. $2, $3 on any database you might find them. But Curtis Joseph was a pain in the ass goalie that the Flyers had to deal with throughout their career. He played for St. Louis, Edmonton, Toronto, Detroit, Phoenix, and Calgary. Was actually an undrafted player when he came out. He came out undrafted and was around the league for 20 seasons, 89 to 09. Has a lot of success on the international level. Won gold with the Canadian Olympic team in 2002 in Salt Lake. Won silver with the World Championships team in 96. Won silver again with the World Cup of Hockey with Team Canada in 96. And, really, I would kill for a Cujo-like goalie right now for the Flyers. He was a scrappy goalie. He was no nonsense type goalie. Just really was a hard fighter and a decent goalie, man. I mean, for a guy that really did not have much success, Stanley Cup wise, he made a career out of himself, and over 454 wins, 352 total losses, and 90 shutouts in his career. That spanned 20 seasons. So Curtis Joseph tonight, our card of the night, or the card review segment. Again, pretty worthless. This is his rookie card, but it's a base card, and there's two versions of it. There's the blue one and the purple one, both at equal no value at about $2 or $3. And remember, you can see this card and a lot of other cards that we've talked about on this segment over on MattyB's eBay page. Just look up Philly MattyB7, and all those cards that we've talked about are currently up there looking for new homes. So go ahead and bid on them. Maybe we could do some business. Maybe we can have some fun. But there you have it. Tonight's card review segment, Curtis Joseph Cujo. And here's the card in its physical form. Pretty clean version of a card. I'm looking at about a 9.5 here, I think, even under the new rigid PSA grading scale. Sharp corners, no fading, good centering. All in all, a good condition card, but pretty worthless when it comes to card value. And hockey cards are actually pretty valuable. They really are. Depending on, and as certain years, and we'll get to some of them as we move through. But the designs, the holograms, the backings, all that, they really put a lot of attention into those. So we'll get to those cards as we move through the show. But Joe says he was a very good goalie. Good one with Cujo. Yeah, Cujo's a good player, man. I'll try to make it here tomorrow. Sleep well. Thank you, Barbara. You too. Joe Hale says great show tonight. Great show for everybody. We covered a lot of ground. Dave Dombroski is a failure, and we assessed him fairly. He got a 64 in his signings and a 55 in his trades, and it worked out to a 60 overall as the president of baseball operations for the Phillies. And can somebody please tell me what the plan is for Alec Boehm and Brandon Marsh? This can't be the plan for the Phillies. Before I do say goodbye, I do want to remind everybody out there that tomorrow night we'll be back for the Fightins final 4-game set with the Giants. Here is your final lineup: Sal, Steve, Mike, and me on Thursday. And then all the great other programming we have on this network, the wraparound with Pat every Thursday night or every Sunday morning at 9, and the attacking third every Thursday night at 9. Sunday morning at 9 for Pat, Thursday night at 9 for Pat and Steve here on the network. And a little programming note about me. So I will be doing the final on Thursday. So I'm going to do this show tomorrow night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. No show Thursday night because I'll do the Fightins final. And then that's it. MattyB is going on vacation. I'm going to step out for about a week. So no shows, no final words at all next week on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I'm going to Florida for some R&R. And I'll come back the following Sunday for some final word. But so this is going to be our final week, and we're going to take a week off. So Hope you guys have a great night, a great rest of your night, and even better tomorrow. We will see each other again. Remember, like, share, subscribe, help us out as we try to grow this thing from the ground up. And we will talk again tomorrow. See ya.